Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Coaching. My name is Kim Britz. I'm Executive Coach and International Leadership Facilitator with the LMI and the host to the Lunchtime series. Today we have Master Transformation Coach Maryke Groenewald, who is joining us. Welcome to the show, Maryke. How are you doing?
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me. I'm doing great. I'm excited to have this session with you this afternoon.
Fantastic, man. So, I'm going to kick off straight away, Maryke. In terms of what you do, a Master Transformation Coach, don't you want to just give us some insight on what that is for anyone that is listening in and wants to find out more?
Okay, great. My focus areas as a coach is mainly in 3 areas. The one is anxiety. So yes, I call myself a transformation coach to transform that anxiety, let's say, into peace and contentment, if I can call it that. Then I also focus on relationship coaching and health, but more so the mind connection between the body and mind and the effects that it has on your health as well.
Okay, fantastic, man. Yeah, I mean, anxiety in the world that we live today, I'm sure that anxiety in itself has a huge part to play. So, Maryke, I know that you're from. You're currently based in Joburg, but you're actually from somewhere in South Africa. If I was doing some research and checking out your social media, tell us where you're from and how did you get into this kind of work, and how did you get to evolve into doing what you do today?
Okay, great. I'm actually in Pretoria. But how it all started is I went to Potchefstroom to study behavioral sciences with the aim to go into psychology. And as life have it, I actually ended up in many other different positions after my studies, and I never went into that. But however, I am doing my honors in psychology at the moment, to combine that with my coaching practice. But in any case, to make a long story short, I was in a corporate environment and I always knew that I'm an entrepreneur. That was the one fact that I absolutely knew, but the what I wasn't sure of. And at some stage, I realized that, people would tend to come to me and, open up towards me, and I will kind of, motivate them to follow their dreams, to start their own business. And after 9 years, I realized that I'm still left behind. All my friends have moved on and they actually pursued, their passion. And here I'm still sitting. There's something wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up, doing the coaching program more for myself, not with the intention to become a life coach, but the process was so powerful and the transformation that I as a human being went through the process. I just knew that this is it. I'm going to become a life coach. And that was in November 2015.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I completely relate to that story because when I was about 26, many moons ago, I was diagnosed by a clinical psychologist as someone with clinical depression, and said to me that if I don't do something about this and put myself in hospital, then, his recommendation was that I follow that procedure, and then I would just have to deal with the repercussions of what that meant. And my brain completely freaked out. And I was like, wow, this doesn't sit well with me. And this is not who I want to be in the world today. And that's where I also went and started studying and understanding and wanting to understand what my brain was doing, and started studying NLP. And I first put myself through a coaching process to kind of wrap my brain around what does that mean in my life and why am I going through this? And eventually got to a point where it became a permanent, I created a whole business out of doing what I do, and created a training business and started teaching people about voice and NLP and how your brain puts information together. So, I mean, I completely relate to how we as coaches often go through a lot of stuff and start implementing on ourselves until we go, okay, cool. I can sort of help people do this thing and put this information together. And that's exactly, how I also did it. So You know, I was looking at the info that you shared, and I know that you've also you're going to tell us about the new initiative that you started with the coaching network. But before we get there, I was just want to sort of check in with you on what was your process when you suddenly COVID hit, and we suddenly became aware of like that everything was locked down, everything was sort of everything really changed, because, you know, from my business perspective, I had to know, I was specifically wanted to work with people in the same room. And then I went, I took about 3 weeks, and my brain completely freaked out. And I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do now, because this is changing everything on of what my business model is built on. You know, I make a better impression when I'm with people than generally just over the phone or over a Skype call. And then I sort of kicked into gear as like, okay, what is bigger than this moment? What is bigger than COVID for me as Kevin on this planet? And that's sort of where the Lunchtime Coaching series happened, and it's really turned into kind of a huge connection that I have with so many people all over the planet, which I'm really fortunate to do now. But I mean, did you have that similar kind of thing about the coaching network? Because I know that it's quite new, and then suddenly people are like, yes, we want to be part of this. Is that something you relate to? How did it come about for you?
Yes, no, absolutely. I do relate with you in that, you know, even a week before lockdown, I mean, it's the year almost started in overdrive. I don't know if you've experienced this, but at the beginning of this year, it was extremely busy. Like, it was very full, and lots of clients, and most people I spoke with was very busy. Like, it was just absolutely, our days were just full. And a week before lockdown, all of my clients just canceled because they had to prepare for this, you know, COVID period, and, you know, people going into their, you know, fear state actually already, you know, a week in advance. And it was very stressful. I mean, I freaked out because all of a sudden, I mean, you know, as a coach, you know, it's no work, no pay. If you don't have clients, you cannot pay your bills. So the first 2-3 weeks, I got overwhelmed with a lot of anxiety. It really, I had to work on myself a lot. And obviously, in that time, you know, those fears that you kind of push aside, they just surface in the time. So I was completely overwhelmed. And luckily, you know, the coaches that I know, we support each other a lot. So we do exchange coaching sessions for one another. And I actually booked a session with a coach because I could not cope with not necessarily not having an income, but having to rely on others. You know, as an entrepreneur, we want to control our environment and our income, you know, etc. So to rely on someone else for that was extremely difficult. And after that session, I think it was a day or two after that, I think within the third week of lockdown, I just realized, but wait a second, you know, there's all these coaches that I know, and some have different expertise, for example, in marketing or how to deal with stress, because now we need to reinvent our business. Because I went into this frantic state of how can I now reinvent my offerings, you know, online. Should I do a COVID special, you know, coaching special, or group coaching? You know, I'm constantly thinking of ideas, and whatever ideas I tried didn't work at that stage. And that's when I said, we are all going through exactly the same. All of our clients, you know, have canceled, so let's help each other. And that's how the coaches network started. All the coaches that I contacted was very interested, and, you know, the topics just came flooding in, so much so that I had to book 3 sessions a week just to get through all these sessions. And we've kept that going up until today, that we still have 3 coaches every single week sharing their stories, or they just help with a visualization or a meditation, or just guiding each other. So that grew from there.
Wow, no, I mean, I think that's such a fantastic initiative, and I think it's key to why we do what we do, because essentially one of the things that stood out for me when this COVID thing happened was people out there and people all over the world, like myself, needed to have input and conversation and some kind of value add. And I was going, well, what's the quickest way for me to do this? What's the best way for me to do this? And I was like, oh, well, let me just speak to other coaches. And we could record this and share this with people. And, you know, the aim is to add value. And, you know, it's completely resonates with me with doing that. So in terms of, you know, the lunchtime coaching sessions that we do have is really an aim of adding that value, like I mentioned. And so as a transformation coach and with the Coaches Network, don't you want to leave us with sort of a maybe 3 to 5 tips that we can sort of take away from this in this troubled period, and you know, from a transformation coach's perspective, like how do I do that transformation, and what are the 5 practical steps I can take today to make a difference to my environment, my life, my business, my relationships, whatever that is.
Okay. What I would like to share today is to basically to create that balance, because obviously how we are working at, you know, this stage is a lot of online work, a lot of online meetings, you know, and it can really kind of make the boundaries very vague between your personal life and work life as well, because you spend now so much time and you are always available, you know, on email or just quickly calling you online, which is a bit of a problem. So one really need to sit down and, you know, just balance out your life and see, okay, because I'm not just an entrepreneur, I'm not just a business owner, I'm also a partner, I'm also a parent perhaps, or for, in my case, a student, you know, at this stage. And you need to balance all of that. Otherwise, that anxiety and stress gets way too overwhelming, because we are only focusing on this one area. But at the back of your mind, you start feeling guilty because I'm not spending time with my kids. I'm not doing the stuff that is also important in my life. So that's basically what I want to chat about this afternoon, to really sit down and write down what are the important areas of your life. And before we even start with the goals, I always advise my clients to look at the purpose of those, let's say, facets of your life. So if you have a relationship, what is your purpose in that relationship? Or what is the purpose as a whole? Is that purpose to grow together or to become the best version of yourself, so that you make sure that you bring in your purpose with your goal, even before you start setting your goal?
Yeah.
Or what is your purpose for yourself? You know, looking at this year, what do you want to ultimately maybe attain for yourself? What is your own core purpose? With family and friends as well. Or if you have kids, what is your purpose in that relationship, you know, in relation to your business also? So what is your purpose there? So before we even go to setting goals and creating balance, look at the purpose of all of those in your life, because you might realize that the purpose isn't necessarily related to what you think you want to aim in that specific area. Because you might set goals in your business with regards to finances, but then you realize, oh, but my purpose are actually to serve others, or, you know, to help other people. So I should rather align my goal with that, which is very important as a starting off point.
Yeah.
And then obviously writing them down. I know, you know, everyone always talks about setting goals, and it's something we know we should do, but do we really do that? You know, do you actually sit down and actually physically writing them down? Or is it just something in your mind, like, yes, I still want to lose weight, or yes, I want to do this. It's my goal to become successful. But how are you actually structuring this? And how are you bringing that into reality as well, which is another thing. Because writing them down is only one part of it, which is the easy part, actually. Because once you've written them down, now you need to transfer them to your daily habits, because you need to create new habits in order to implement those. For example, if you want to be healthier, it's one thing to say, yes, my goal is to live a healthy lifestyle. But what are you going to actually physically change every single day? Like drinking 2 liters of water, or cutting out bread out of your diet or fizzy drinks, whatever that one thing is that you want to cut out, you need to bring it back into those daily disciplines. I don't know if you read the book by Robin Sharma, The 5 a.m. Club.
No, I
It's
haven't
quite
yet, but
a
I
great book.
know I know all about it. Yes.
Okay, so in his book, there's one part which he explains about habits. And sorry to burst people's bubble out there that a habit actually does not take 21 days. um, he gives quite a good explanation why it takes much longer than that. It actually takes 66 days. Because in the first 22 days, you're actually only breaking down your old habits. Because a habit is something that should be automatic, like brushing your teeth. I don't have to remind myself to do it. It's part of my daily, let's say, routine. So I don't have to remind myself. So the next 22 days is actually when you now start integrating your new habits. Now it gets hard actually because it's hard work to keep at it. I still need to remind myself to do this. Only by 66 days, it gets to that automation point. So if you want to start any new habit, you need to stick it out for at least 66 days to make that automatic, part of your daily routine every single day. And what I also like to do is I'm very old school. I still like a diary where I can write down everything. Um, because goal setting is a whole process. You have your goals. What do I want to reach? And then you need to break them down into steps. But that's still not even good enough. You need to take those steps. Now I need to schedule it. Because if I said I want to have date nights with my partner, that's one of my goals. I need to physically choose when, what day, and actually make that reservation. Because who said it was, let me see, Chris Ducker, he said, what doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. So I believe to really every single week plan out my week, make sure that I do those things because otherwise we forget. Because you can write down your goals, but if you leave them on the bedside table and don't revisit them, yeah, they're not going to happen. Just by magically writing them down, they're not going to get, done by themselves. So I plan my days every week and every day as well to make sure that I create balance. I would, for example, choose one evening in the week that I set aside for quality time with my kids, watching a movie together or something so that you create that balance. It doesn't have to be quantity, but quality. If you have those times with your partner, with your kids, also setting time for yourself. Because if you have goals, you need to work on them every single day. So choose, does mornings work for me or evenings? And set out, even if you start with half an hour, that's fine. To write down your goals. There's a science behind actually physically writing them down. You have to visualize them. You need to make time for that. And one of our coaches actually did a presentation on productivity. And what he said is you need to go beneath the resistance radar because our minds give resistance to change if you want to start any new habit. And the way you do that is you start very small, like small steps, because otherwise we get too overwhelmed. And I know I keep using health, or fitness as an example, but so many people always have that goal. I want to lose weight or I want to be fit. But you can't, let's say, for example, now from next month on the Monday, I'm going to start exercising every day. I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to, whatever the case might be. It's too much at once. So start with what is possible. The first thing you do is choose the one thing that is easy to do. Let's say it's easy to drink 2 liters of water every day because it doesn't take too much effort for you. It will be easy enough. So you start there only and do that for about 2 weeks until you feel comfortable. Okay, good. I've achieved this. Then you move to your next step to maybe exercise once a week or even 5 minutes at a time, so that it doesn't feel too overwhelming and your body and your mind doesn't resist to that. So every single day, start with very small steps so that your mind doesn't resist. And then lastly, with goals, also have daily intentions. Because I've got two things I do every morning. I take half an hour once I've gotten up and I write down my goals and then I write down my intentions. Now, the difference between the two is goals is a bit more long term, but intentions is daily. So every day I start, for example, with the intention I choose to be happy, I choose love, or I choose confidence. I accept everything the way it is. Everything happens in my favor, just as a few examples. So starting your day with those intentions to make sure that you live a balanced life and also your goals with that. I've now said a lot in a short time, but so
No,
important though, it's really important to do this.
I really love everything you're saying, and a lot of what you're saying is exactly what I also implement. I'm making notes as you speak, and I think a lot of people get into that because everybody knows about goals. We're not recreating the wheel here. It's like you need goals. You need to get where your brain's on board with this thing. But I think the biggest, as you mentioned, the biggest part where people really lack is the action taking. What is my behavior and what does my behavior look like and what is that literal action that I'm going to do, and the fact that if it's not scheduled, it doesn't get done. I schedule next to having an actual relationship with my fiance. I schedule almost everything, right? And I have reminders on my phone, and my watch reminds me. I time myself on how long I can spend on a presentation. It's quite precise to the degree of how I schedule everything, because I know if I don't schedule it, I can easily fall back into that usual pattern of like, yeah, I'm going to get to it tomorrow, or I'll get to it later, or and it doesn't work because you just don't get to it eventually, and you're kind of going, okay, what is that little resistance rate like that? I'm just mentioning your words here, that resistance radar, and what is it that's creating the resistance for me? And also in terms of what's that easy to do, one of the coaches that I've also spoken to has also said, match that easy to do habit that you can to an already existing habit, which is, I'm like, yeah, that's a really practical tip that you can take away, because the moment you start doing this new habit with something you're currently already habit formed, it's a nice sort of trigger, and it's nice, easy to do, knowing that I already get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, or brushing my teeth. I just need to add this new little extra habit to it. So I know we could probably sit and talk like this for hours on end, but the lunchtime series is only 30 minutes long. And Maryke, so if anybody wants to find out more about the coaching network, I know a lot of coaches will probably want to know more, and I invite all the coaches on there to please get in touch with me. I'd love for them to join us for sessions like this and to teach people and add value. But where do we get hold of you guys, and what's the easiest place to find you?
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yes, so my coaching practice is called Life Purpose Coaching, and the network is called Coaches Network South Africa, or Coaches Network SA. We have a private Facebook group, which is for coaches only, where we support each other and create opportunities as well. And we do our weekly radio show as well on Caxton Radio, the stage, where we also have coaches in talking about a topic which is quite exciting. So our aim is exactly what you said, to add value to coaches, to connect coaches, to one another, and to create opportunities like this. And I'm very grateful that we have, this opportunity as well to create even more awareness and more value, for people out there. It's amazing. So people can just search Coaches Network South Africa. We are on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, and we will soon start our YouTube channel. I've recently started a YouTube channel also during lockdown, with tips on how to rewire your mind for anxiety and all of those things, which is quite nice.
Fantastic. Thank you, Maryke Groenewald. Thank you for joining us. It's Life Purpose Coaching and the Coaches Network South Africa. Please check it out online, guys. All of this information will be in the description box below in all the videos and the social media. Maryke, thank you for that, for your time, and thank you for chatting to me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great fun. Thank you.
I will chat to you soon. Thank you so much.